At 11:40 p.m., you are still scanning the room. You already know by heart who is tense, who needs calming, what mood you have to carry so nobody tips over. You learned that long before you learned what you felt in your own body. People called that maturity. But it was never maturity. It was a boy getting good at disappearing before his needs could cost him something. You think the damage came from growing up too fast. It did not. The deeper damage is that the part of you that should have been messy, held, and unfinished got sealed off early, and the man you became still pays for that trade in quiet rooms. We have watched this pattern in decent men, dependable men, the one who can carry everybody else's weather, but goes blank when the question turns toward his own life. He does not need more discipline. He needs to see the trade clearly enough to stop confusing survival with strength, because if he cannot find the years he skipped, he keeps becoming useful instead of whole, still sitting in the dim room with his jaw locked, hand on the doorknob, bracing for what the house needs from him. And when that door finally opens, it can open on a man who feels the same pull in his chest, loosens his grip, and walks in without leaving himself outside. Marcus is 34, sitting in his Camry in the Target parking lot at 7:14 on a Tuesday evening. Engine off, groceries in the back, hands still at 10 and 2. He has been there 19 minutes. His wife thinks he is in line. His phone is face down on the passenger seat because 3 texts came in from his mother about his brother's car payment, and he cannot afford to read them yet. There is a small brown stain on his cuff from the coffee he spilled in the morning meeting, and he keeps pressing his thumb into it like it is a switch. He is not crying. He is not angry. He is doing arithmetic. If I answer my mother, I walk into the house already gone. If I ignore her, I will hear about it all night. If I sit here 2 more minutes, maybe I can become neutral before I open the front door. From the outside, he looks steady. Inside, he is still calculating the emotional weather before he is allowed to enter his own life. You can see why the world rewards him. Last March, his father-in-law had a stroke on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus was at work when his wife called, voice thin, words coming too fast. By 4:20, he had the hospital on speaker. A flight pulled up on his laptop, a duffel bag open on the bed, and her charger wrapped around the handle so she would not forget it. At the airport, she cried into a paper mask, and he stood there holding both boarding passes and a sweating bottle of smart water, calm enough for both of them. Her sister still brings it up. Men built like this are often the load-bearing beams in their families. They remember the form, the deadline, the pharmacy pickup, the sentence that will keep dinner from turning into a fight. That capacity is real. It was built under pressure, and pressure can produce something useful. What pressure cannot produce is the thing his wife is about to ask him for on an ordinary Saturday morning, and the silence that follows is louder than any fight they have ever had. 2 Saturdays ago, Marcus's wife stood at the island in gray socks, cutting strawberries for the kids, and asked him, "What do you want this weekend?" Not what needs to get done. Not whether the lawn guy called. What do you want? He was leaning against the sink with his coffee cooling in his hand. He looked at the fruit, then at the sponge by the faucet, then at nothing. 40 seconds went by. Finally, he said, "I want everybody to have a good day." She kept cutting and said, "That is not what I asked." He gave her the small, polite smile he uses at work and said, "I genuinely do not know." He meant it. That blank look is expensive. Not dramatic, not cinematic, expensive. The man who can walk into a tense room and lower the temperature in 90 seconds may still freeze when the room asks for one true preference from him. The damage shows up first, where nobody can argue with him about it. Eli learned that in his truck outside his daughter's school last spring. The play had just ended. He had smiled through the whole thing, clapped at the right moments, taken grainy photos from the 5th row, and carried the glittery paper flowers back to the parking lot. Then he shut the driver's door, and the cab went quiet, except for the tick of the cooling engine. His chest started hammering. His left hand went cold. He looked down at the playbill on the seat and thought, "This is it. I am having a heart attack in the elementary school parking lot." He wasn't. It was the first unsupervised minute his body had gotten all day, and it used it. A man can keep the story clean with his mouth for years. His shoulders usually tell on him by Thursday. His jaw tells on him in the shower. His lower back tells on him when he bends to tie his shoe at 11 p.m. The body starts sending debt notices long before he knows the account is overdue. Then the same pattern walks into his marriage wearing the costume of being a good husband. Jordan found that out in a driveway after a wedding. It was humid, his collar was damp, and there was still a gold paper wristband from the open bar stuck in the cup holder. His wife closed her door, looked through the windshield, and said, "I had fun until you disappeared again." He frowned and said, "I am right here." She nodded once and said, "No, you are physically here. There is a difference." He tightened his hands around the wheel, because in his mind, he had done everything right. He danced once. He shook the uncle's hand. He stayed late. He never made her manage him. But she was not asking whether he had behaved. She was asking whether she had been with a person. That is the grief inside a lot of these marriages. She is not married to a monster. She is married to a man who learned how to stay contained so early that he mistakes management for presence. If any of these rooms feel familiar, put a 1 in the comments if your body is where the bill shows up first. Put a 2 if it is your marriage. Put a 3 if work is the room that keeps paying you to stay this way. Mark the room. A pattern gets weaker the minute it has an address. Work is usually where the trade becomes hardest to see, because work hands him a medal for the very thing that is thinning him out. Nate was on the edge of his bed last Tuesday at 9:40 p.m., still in his jeans, room dark except for the light from his phone. That afternoon, his boss needed a problem fixed by 5. His sister needed a ride to urgent care. His ex texted that their son forgot his cleats. He handled all 3, sent the email, made the pickup, dropped off the cleats. By night, he had that strange taste in his mouth he gets after a day of being useful to too many people, part pride, part disgust. He hated how consumed he felt. He also did not know who he would be if nobody needed him tomorrow. Need gives him a shape. Need tells him where to stand. Need keeps him from hearing the quieter question underneath, which is what his life feels like when he is not earning his place in it. Once a man sees that trade clearly, he usually wants the fix to be dramatic. That urge makes sense. It is also where most men waste a month. David was 41, a project manager in Phoenix, 2 kids, marriage that looked good from the sidewalk. In a men's group last year, he was the most helpful guy in the room for 6 straight weeks. He brought coffee, checked on people by text, asked sharp questions. Then in week 7, another man asked him how his week was. David smiled and said, "Busy, but good." An older man across from him, Ron, leaned forward and said, "Was it good?" David said, "It was fine." Ron did not rescue him. He said it again. "Was it good?" The room went so still, David could hear somebody's ice settling in a paper cup. After about a minute, he looked down at the floor and said, "No, it was not good. I have been sleeping in the guest room since Tuesday, and I have not told anybody." The win was not that he touched a big feeling. The win was that a low-stakes question finally got a true answer in a life that had been trained to round everything up to fine. The work usually starts there, smaller and less glamorous than men expect. Not with a breakthrough, with one answer that is 1 degree more true than the polished one. The cashier says, "How's your day going?" And instead of good, he says, "Long, actually." His friend asks how work is, and instead of same old, he says, "Heavier than usual." His wife asks what he wants for dinner, and instead of "whatever you want," he says, "Tacos." Those sound like tiny moments. They are not tiny to a nervous system that learned honesty could cost it belonging. Every smooth answer keeps the old arrangement in place. Every slightly truer answer casts 1 vote against disappearing. Then comes the part that makes men think the work is failing, when it may be working for the first time. I learned that sitting in my car outside my apartment one night, engine off, forehead against the steering wheel, telling myself I was just tired. That was the acceptable word. Tired sounds responsible. Tired sounds adult. The truth was uglier to me at the time. I was lonely. I was angry. I was embarrassed by how badly I wanted comfort from someone I had been acting fine around for months. I kept choosing the safe word over the true one, and that choice cost me years. It also helped end a relationship that did not deserve to be starved by my vocabulary. When a man starts answering more truthfully, life does not clap for him. The people around him have been leaning on the version of him that disappears without complaint. His mother may call more. His boss may get sharper. His wife may look relieved one night and unsettled the next. He will feel selfish almost on cue because that is the oldest alarm in the system. If he does not expect that backlash, he will misread the pain of change as proof he should go back. The first real sign of progress is often inconvenience. Picture Marcus 6 months from now. Same Camry, same Target lot. Tuesday again. The store receipt is still on the passenger seat. The cuff still has a stain because he forgot to drop the shirt at the cleaner. His phone lights up with his mother's name and a text about his brother being short on rent. He reads it this time. His throat tightens. He types with both thumbs, erases half of it, then writes, "I love you. I can't fix this tonight. I'm going home." He stares at the message for 3 seconds and sends it before he can improve it into a lie. He does not feel powerful after that. He feels shaky, a little mean, a little free. Then he starts the car. At home, when his wife asks how his day was, he does not say fine on reflex. He sets the grocery bag on the counter, takes out the milk, and says, "Hard, actually. I can tell you after the kids go down if you have room." It is an ordinary sentence. A life gets rebuilt in sentences small enough to say before courage arrives. I think about a room over a garage in my uncle's old house in Ohio. Nobody used it by the time I was old enough to notice it. The air always smelled like dry wood and summer dust. The window had been painted shut so many times the frame looked fused together. One August afternoon, he took a flathead screwdriver, worked it under the sill, and the seal broke with a sound like a knuckle cracking. Warm, stale air moved out. Cicadas and cutgrass air moved in. Nothing in the room was renovated. Same floor, same marks on the wall, but it was part of the house again. That is the kind of return most men are actually making. Not a new personality, not a polished healing story. Just air getting into a room that has been running the temperature of the whole house for years. If this found you at the right moment, subscribe to someone to be, like the video, so it reaches the man sitting in a parked car, buying himself 10 more minutes. Share it with the one person you know who is useful to everybody and absent from himself, and put too fast in the comments if you know exactly what this trade has cost. You do not have to become a different man to stop vanishing inside your own life.